What's up everybody, Kinetic here and welcome back to Grim Dawn. I'm getting a lot of requests to talk about the Gunslinger build, dual-wielding pistol build, and just generally how is my build being put together, what are my points being put into Demolitionist, into Devotions and stuff like that, how am I gearing myself, etc. So I'm going to, now that I'm level 60 with this character, I'm going to quickly go over how the Gunslinger dual-wielding firestrike build generally works. This is going to require some basic knowledge of Grim Dawn, obviously, I think, to understand it. But I'll try to keep this as noob friendly as possible for you guys. First and foremost, in order to be able to dual wield pistols, because this is going to be like one of the first things that everybody wants to do, is you'll need to wear an item that gives you the ability to dual wield pistols. Unfortunately, Demolitionist, which is going to be your first main class for the Gunslinger build here, it doesn't have a trait that you can unlock. It doesn't have just a default ability or anything like that to dual wield pistols. You'll need to wear a piece of equipment. Now, for the longest time, I actually had a belt that I believe was called Marauder's belt or something like that, and it gave the ability to dual wield pistols, and I wore it for the longest time until I found the recipe for Marauder's talisman and was able to gather all the components needed and stuff like that to craft it. But you can see down in the middle there, granted skills, and then kind of in the yellow text, all the way down at the bottom, also enables the ability to dual wield range weapons. That is how you dual wield pistols here in Grim Dawn. There's no other way around it, it seems. You'll need to wear a piece of equipment like that, and to be able to have that equipment, you have to rely on RNG. It shouldn't really take that long, though. I think I finally got my my belt or something like that, like around mid-20s. I think I had a piece maybe even a little bit before that, but I ended up wearing the belt for, like I said, a really long time until I got the recipe and was able to craft the talisman. The talisman, I would say, is once you can do that, then yes, do that, because I feel like that's a great place to get that ability from. Let's go into the class points here. Obviously, like I said, we're going to be starting off with Demolitionist as our main class, and for the early parts of the game, what I found to be the most effective was I started by putting quite a few points into firestrike, not as many as I have now, but I don't know, like maybe 3, 4, 5, something like that, while also trying to push the mastery, adding points here to push the mastery to give me more access to more and more skills here, especially focused on trying to get to Blast Shield, because Blast Shield is one of the best defensive abilities that we have to keep our ass alive. Unfortunately, it's been nerfed recently from activating at 75% down to 60%, which I feel is a mistake. You can die really quickly without Blast Shield activating at the right time, but it's still insanely good for, I think, for this build. So yeah, once you can, try to push the mastery points up there and start putting around, like I said, the same as firestrike, like 3, 4, 5 points, something like that. And we've got obviously a lot of other things that we're trying to put points into. So focusing entirely on firestrike or blast shield to get to 12 or whatever isn't ideal. Just put some points, get it, get it a little bit beefy, and then also start sharing the love among other places here. For example, there's flame touched that I put a bunch of points into. I put 1 point into temper. I've got 7 currently into explosive strike. I'll probably put in some more. Static strike was bugged apparently, and now it's been fixed. Some people thought that the recent change was a nerf. I'm hearing that it was bugged. I don't know, but I'm not putting that many points into it either way. And this came much later, actually. I only recently started putting some more points here into Brimstone. So I think, basically I stopped at Blast Shield for quite a while, until like maybe 40s, 50s or something like that. Then finished off my mastery to get here to Brimstone. Because there's so many other things that do what Brimstone essentially does, which is create more AoE damage. Flashbang. This is a great defensive ability. Really good defensive ability. And you might wonder, well, why is there only 1 point there? Well, it's really enough. With the 1 point there in Flashbang and another point in Searing Light, you get a great effect simply from that. What this will do is it reduces target's defensive ability for 6 seconds. It has a chance to confuse targets as well for 3 to 5 seconds. It's very effective even with just 1 point, and with Searing Light, what you'll get is a continued effect, right? A 15% slow target for 2.5 seconds, for example, here at level 1. Chance for target to fumble attacks, chance for impaired aim. Either way, that's really good, and that should be something that you get before you get Blast Shield. Vindictive Flame. This is basically a damage buff for our character, and along the mix, yeah, put, like I said, 4 or 5 points in there, just get it beefy, and then once you've got, you know, kind of some of these other boxes ticked here, like for example, the Flashbang, Searing Light, some points in Blast Shield, then put some more maybe in Vindictive Flame, some more in Flame Touch, Firestrike, etc. Of course, later on, not that much later, into and way before Demolitionist gets this beefy, you'll be given access to the Arcanist. Now, the Arcanist is really just going to kind of help supplement to some of the damage and some of the defensive abilities that we want for our character. The Iskandra's Elemental Exchange is a really important one to invest points into early. This is also a really good thing to get early on, so kind of like Flame Touched and Mastery with Demolitionist, start putting points into IEE here, pushing your mastery. This is essentially an oh shit button, okay? This will save your ass by absorbing 100% damage and reflecting 15% of it back at your attackers. It only lasts for 3 seconds, which is why I call it like an oh shit button when you're at like 5% health or something like that. And hopefully you've already activated this before you're dead, kind of scenarios, you know what I mean? Now we've got a point here into Overload, and then there's also Maven's Sphere of Protection. This is another key thing. Again, kind of like what Blast Shield is to Demolitionist, the Maven's Sphere of Protection is another source of good defensive ability for our characters. So this is going to be another thing that once you push into the mastery, start beefing it up a bit with, you know, a few points there. This is also really handy, Alexra's Flash Freeze. This is going to kind of be the oh shit button before your oh shit button, if you will, by freezing your enemies as they come after you to tear your face off. And you'll start to notice that there will be certain enemy types that you just know are super aggressive. They may be faster than others or something like that. Or, you know, the enemies are finally getting close to you, and you don't want to have to start kiting. You can just go ahead and freeze them and continue blasting with our pistol build, because that's really what we're trying to do here. We're not spending a lot of time you know, goofing off by running around kiting a lot and stuff like that, except for some of the most, you know, insanely powerful bosses. That's not what this build is about. It's not a kiting build. This is a hold your ground, you know, blast your guns and keep blasting until they're dead kind of thing. And everything else that this build does is meant to interfere with your gun shooting as little as possible. So it's going to be, while you're shooting your guns, effects are also going to be happening automatically. If you're taking damage, effects are going to be happening automatically. Only certain things, like for example the Alexra's Flash Freeze, maybe the oh shit button, right, the Mirror of Erection, your flashbang as an initiator to get things started, you know, debuff them and stuff like that. It's the only time you're really going to want to interrupt your gun shooting, because everything else is probably going to be a DPS loss. So yeah, for the rest of Arcanist, as I've kind of progressed through it here, I've put a few points into Inner Focus, but I probably should have put some more points into this earlier. Maybe less into the Maven's Sphere Protection as I have it now. It just felt like at the point in the game where I was, it felt like I wanted more defense, which is why I've got it now maxed at 12-12. But Inner Focus is really important as well. You're going to get an offensive ability and spirit from that. Once you got a couple points into Elixir's Flash Freeze, go ahead and get Absolute Zero. Go ahead and get Arcane Will, Nullification there, and then push your Mastery some more and start putting points into elemental balance. Now with this build, I plan to go actually much further in terms of the mastery for Arcanist, but right now I'm kind of I'm sticking with where it is now. All the points that I get from this point for a while are going to mainly focus on filling in more of where I want more points for Arcanist, or where I want more points for Demolitionist. So for example, I'm going to be putting more points into Explosive Strike, into Vindictive Flame, into Brimstone, more into Elemental Balance, more into Electras, more into Inner Focus and stuff like that. And then maybe after that, once I feel like I've got what I want from there, I'll put in some more points, and then I will get, I believe, Conversion. So mainly what we're getting from this is we're getting Reduced Stun, Freeze, Petrify, Duration, and as well also some Slow Resistance. So that's pretty good. The devotion points are going to be a bit more difficult for me to explain here, but essentially you will need to have a certain amount of points gained by clearing shrines around Grim Dawn, and once you've met the requirements to go into certain constellations, because you have to have a certain point investment into them before you can start putting points into the constellation. So for example here, the Magi, which is going to be one of my next constellations for sure, I need to have an affinity of 10 Eldritch points, which I don't currently have. I only have 9. So somewhere else around here in the devotion constellations, I need to unlock more Eldritch points, and then once I've done that, then I can start spending and investing points in here, and that will give me access to really powerful effects that we then add on as additional kind of powers onto our skills for our Gunslinger. So here, for example, once we've completed the constellation and worked our way up to this point, we'll have access to Fissure. And then with that 50% chance on attack, a fissure opens in the earth, spewing lava and brimstone upon the enemies. So it's lots of additional damage, chance to stun targets and stuff like that. Really, really nice effects that you can, like I said, add on to your skill powers. Up here in the Imp constellation, Aetherfire was probably the first one that I actually unlocked for my Gunslinger build. A small burst of Aetherfire erupts at your target's feet, so upon hitting an attack, 15% chance on hit for an enemy, that effect will burn them from underneath, which is quite cool. After that, I continued then south here to unlock Elemental Storm. A crackling whirlwind of flame and ice manifests itself at your command, a 45% chance on attack this time, and that is actually bound to Flashbang, which we can throw out fairly often if we want to. And then the Aetherfire is bound to my Firestrike, and Firestrike is my main attack, and that's basically your gunshots. Since we're blasting as fast as we are, as often as we are, of course, with that, 15% chance on attack is going to activate very, very quickly. And yeah, so basically just invest points into the areas where you need to. For example, what do I have? I've got Scholar's Light. That was one of the earlier ones. Hawk. The Owl. Let's see. Currently I'm putting points into Spider, which is probably one of the more debatable choices for this this build, but there's a good reason why I chose to go with Spider for the benefits that it gives. Primarily, I'm going with it because I need the Eldritch points. Once I have the Eldritch points, and like I pointed out earlier, then I'll start working on the Magi constellation. I could have gone, for example, with Raven instead, and I would have been there sooner, since this is only a 4-point, while this is a 5, but I liked what this offered better instead. For example, the plus 10 Cunning, plus 10 Spirit. You've got some Retaliation, there's more Cunning, there's some offensive and defensive ability, and then here we have more offensive ability and chaos resistance. So I just really like what this offered. I also really needed the Cunning because certain guns need a certain amount of Cunning, certain armor needs maybe, for example, physique and stuff like that, which I probably should have said somewhere earlier in the video. But yeah, so you may need to use the devotion tree. It's not recommended, I don't think, to use the devotion tree to fill in maybe your Cunning requirements or something like that. But you know, you do what you got to do to get the points that you need for what you're aiming for, right? Speaking of your attributes, because that's obviously going to be something that you'll be doing every time you level, you'll be adding points to physique, your cunning, spirit, and stuff like that. And I've been adding these on a rate of about every 4 points. I'll go into and put like a point here in spirit, roughly something like that. I have put in a few points into cunning because, like I said, certain guns have required certain amounts of cunning. You might be able to get lucky and find it on gear. You might apply it via components, which is what I did with the polished emerald. But yeah, that's kind of one of the trickier things that you'll maybe need to balance depending on the gun requirements that come to you. As far as the kind of stats that you're looking for on gear, fire damage is going to be king. Elemental damage is also really good if you can find that as well, maybe as a substitute. Offensive ability and attack speed are insanely good. I'll probably be using this pistol for a very long time because it gives me plus 18 to attack speed. That is really, really good. Without attack speed, if you've got like no attack speed anywhere on your character, you can really feel it because it's like ba-bang, 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 or something like that. And that's pathetically slow. I actually managed to endure that kind of speed for a while with my character, but then I couldn't go back once I finally was able to add some more attack speed. But there we go, there's some more fire damage increase there. There's a nice piece that also gives me +2 to blast shield. And let's see what else we got here. Defensive ability, you're going to want to try and get some defense ability where you can. There's another 18 attack speed there. I believe, actually, if I remember correctly, both this pistol, maybe, definitely these gloves, the Rowari handguards, actually came from a faction vendor. So keep an eye on vendors that offer fire damage, equipment, attack speed, and stuff like that. Let's see, there's some more fire damage, some more offensive ability. Resistances, yes, your resistances are going to be especially important starting in veteran, definitely now here in elite difficulty. Probably maybe around level 40 or something like that is when resistances started to feel like they were getting to be quite important. And I had much higher percentages until I came into elite difficulty, ultimate difficulty. They actually take a cut from your elemental resistances, and that's why these values are lower than they used to be. But yeah, start considering resistances, yeah, around 40, something like that. But otherwise, you wouldn't have to worry too much about it, I don't think. If you start like really melting to like poison damage or something like that, it's probably because you've got like 0 poison resistance or something like that. And yeah, you might want to do something about it by, for example, putting like maybe anti-venom salve, a component that you can craft or, you know, find randomly as a drop, and then put it on your belt or something like that. And as far as the rest of the components go, I'm mainly putting in components where I feel like it can fill in a weakness. For example, here I've got Hallowed Ground for defensive ability. I've got at least 3 items here with the Anti-Venom Salve for the poison resistance. Let's see, we've got Spellwoven Threads for burn damage, offensive ability, stuff like that. Mark of the Traveler for movement speed, slow resistance. Attuned Lodestone, plus to all damage, crit damage, lightning, electrocute, stuff like that. And yeah, then up here in, for example, the rings and the amulet, I've got a couple of marks of illusion, elemental damage, defensive ability, stuff like that is good. And in the headpiece, elemental damage, elemental resistance, yeah. Even better than those kinds of components, though, I've got 2 really kick-ass components here that are giving me active skills for my my build. Here in the Mediator, I've got double-touched ammo, which is a rare component that you can find pieces of and combined into, once you've got 4 pieces to give you Demon's Breath. This is a really nice ability. Over here on the other gun, I've got silver core bolts. I wouldn't say that this is required at all for the build, but I would say that double-touched ammo is. I happen to like this right now. The silver core bolts gives me silver spread, which releases a bunch of projectiles, 5 projectiles that deal some really nice main hand damage. That's going to wrap it up for this video on the dual-wielding Gunslinger build that I'm playing here in Grim Dawn. It's not a very complicated build to play or to put together, but it is quite fun. I really like the general gameplay that this build offers, and yeah, I'm going to continue to push with this build, try and get it as high as I can before the expansion for Grim Dawn comes out. And yeah, if you're looking to level a new character, or you might just be interested in purchasing, if you don't have it already, Grim Dawn, now's a really good time to do that, because the game is on sale. I believe it's 50% off right now on Steam, and yeah, they have these sales once in every few months or something like that. Now's a good time to maybe start a Gunslinger or some other build in the game in preparation for when the expansion comes out later this year. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section below. Click the like button to support Grim Dawn videos here on the channel, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next video. Thanks again for watching. This is Kinetic, and I'll see you next time.